Hello, everyone. My name is Fritz Fortu. This presentation is for cybersecurity students on a fair information practice principles, or better still, FIPS. The next few minutes, I'll walk you through what FIPS are and how they connect to privacy laws and regulations and how they help protect personal identifiable information, especially in federal agencies. So, before I dive into the specifics, it's good to understand what FIPS are. So, first off, FIPS are a foundational set of privacy principles that guide how organizations collect, use, share, and protect personal identifiable information. Uh, they especially they're especially important for cybersecurity professionals because they sit at the intersection between law, policy, and technical controls. In this session, I'll start by defining each of the principles, then compare FIPS to other privacy frameworks and regulations. Uh, I'll explain how they support the protection of personal identifiable information, or PII, and give an example of how federal agencies can put each principles into practice. First, I'll explain what FIPS are and where they fit in a broader privacy landscape. Next, I'll walk through this, the key principles for things such as transparency, individual participation, purpose specification, data minimization, use limitation, data quality and integrity, security, accountability, and auditing. Then I'll move on to compare how FIPS to other privacy policy laws and regulation such as GDPR and US privacy laws. After that, I'll describe how FIPS can protect P- PII and give a concrete examples of how federal agencies can use each principles in their daily operations. And then finally, I'll wrap up with the key takeaway for us as a future cybersecurity professional. So bear with me as I walk through the slides. Now, definition of FIPS. So FIPS, uh, it's a fair information practice principles that are internationally recognized sets of guidelines for responsible handling of personal data. They aren't just a single law by themselves, but they act as a framework um, that influences many privacy laws, regulations, and policies in both public and private sectors. FIPS focused on questions like what data we collect, why we're collecting it, and who can access it. How long should we keep it? And how do we keep it in accurate and secure format? From a cybersecurity perspective, FIPS connects our technical controls like access restrictions, login, and encryptions to larger obligation around transparency, fairness, and accountability. Now, I'll briefly walk through each of these main principles, such as the transparency, which means individuals should know what data is collected, how it is used, and who is shared with. This often shows up as clear privacy notice and understandable explanations. That is to say, individual participations gives people a way to access their data, collect it, and sometimes challenge its use. Um, we can talk about purpose specifications, which is required the organizations to clearly state what data is collected, is being collected, and what time of the collections. Data minimizations means collecting only from information that is necessary for the purpose, nothing extra. And then we can look at use limitation, which is to ensure that data is only used for the original purpose unless there is a new legal basis or concern. Data quality and integrity focus on keeping information accurate, up to date, and reliable. Security covers safeguard technical or administrative and physical to protect data from unauthorized access or lost. And finally, accountability and auditing means an organization must be able to demonstrate that it follows those principles, often through logs, reports, and governance structures. We move on to our next slide, and we want to talk about some of the comparisons uh, with other modern privacy laws. So FIPS doesn't exist in isolation. They influence many modern privacy laws. For example, the EU General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR reflects similar ideas. Transparency, data minimization, purpose, limitations, and accountability. GDPR is often detailed and legally binding, but the logic behind it lines up closely with FIPS. In the US, the Privacy Act of 1974 and various sector specific laws like HIPAA for health data, GLBA for financial data, and it also reflects FIPS-like concepts such as access rights, notice, and limits to disclosure. The key difference is that FIPS are flexible. They're a flexible framework, while laws like GDPR or HIPAA are specific legal requirements with enforcement mechanisms and fines for cyber professionals. Understanding FIPS really helps make a sense of why these laws looks the way they are and what regulations expect from organizations handling personal data. Let's move along. FIPS are especially powerful when it comes to protecting personal identifiable information, or you can refer to it as PII. Transparency and individual participations build trust and give people control over their information. This reduces confusion and complaints. Uh, Purpose specification, data minimizations, and use limitation directly reduces risk. If any agency doesn't collect unnecessary data, that doesn't reuse it for unrelated purposes, there's less exposure if something goes wrong. Talking about data quality and integrity, this helps to ensure decisions based on PII for fairness and accuracy, which is critical in areas like benefits, hiring, or background checks. Security is where cybersecurity teams are heavily involved. Encryption, strong authentication, logging, monitoring, and incident response, and finally accountability and auditing make sure that these practices not only just written, it's not just written on paper, but it's being followed and can be demonstrated to inspector for oversight bodies. Let's look at how federal agencies might put each principles into practice. For, for transparency, an agency can publish a clear privacy notice uh, on its website and issue a of record notice which maintains certain types of records. For individual participation, It can offer processes for people to request access to their records, collect correct errors, or file complaints. For purpose specifications, agency can document why each system collects data and includes that in the system documentation and privacy impact assessment. With data minimization forms, and system should only ask for the fields that are truly necessary to extra data, just in case. Use limitation is supported by access control policy and role-based access, limiting who can use PII data. Data quality and integrity are maintained through validation checks, regular reviews, and update processes. Security is enforced with controls like encryption, multi-factor authentication, and network monitoring. And finally, accountability and auditing, which involves logging access, performing regular audits, training staff, and reporting on compliance. Together, these actions turn principles into practice. And lastly, to wrap up, the fair information practice principles provide a strong foundations for privacy data protection across both government and private organizations. We looked at what FIPPs are, how they align with influence, how they aligns with and influence laws like GDPR and US privacy regulations, and how they help protect personal identifiable information. For cybersecurity professionals, FIPS are a reminder that our work is not just technical, it's also about fairness, transparency, and accountability. As technology evolves, especially with AI and advanced analytics, coming back to this principle can help us ensure that innovation doesn't come at the expense of individual rights and trust. Thank you for listening and watching and learning with me. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye bye.